Welcome back to Woodford County Hometown Highlights, the podcast where we shine a light on the people, stories, and history that shaped our community. I'm Talora Bennett, and today's episode centers on something especially meaningful to Woodford County, the 2026 Honoring Our Black Heritage series. This series is dedicated to preserving, celebrating, and amplifying Black history, culture, and lived experience right here at home. Stories that deserve to be remembered, shared, and passed on. To help us understand why this series matters and the work behind preserving Black history locally, I'm joined by someone whose impact is deeply woven into Woodford County's story. Sue Finney is a retired Woodford County High School social studies teacher, a local historian, a tireless community advocate, and a 2025 Woodford County Public Schools Hall of Fame inductee. She has played a critical role in preserving African American history in Woodford County, from her leadership with the Huntertown Community Interpretive Park to uncovering forgotten stories that might otherwise have been lost to time. Sue's presence here today reflects the heart of the Honoring Our Black Heritage series, honoring those who have done the work, preserved the truth, and ensured our community's history is exclusive and visible. Sue, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you. I'm just honored to be here, and thank you for having me.
Of course. For those who may not know you personally, can you tell us a little about your background and what first sparked your passion for history and teaching?
I came to teaching as really my third career. I had a prior career in youth ministry and also at Silver Dollar City as an entertainment director, which is now Dollywood, so that's a whole nother story. But I came to teaching here when I moved to Woodford County, started out as a substitute, and also then worked at several places. But history's always been my just passion, a passion for history, telling stories so that nobody's life and nobody's impact is forgotten, because everybody's life has impact in some way, shape, or form. So I started when I have a degree actually in political science from my undergraduate degree, when I started teaching as a sub in history in the middle school here, and then went on to teach government and economics and civics and all those things. It just reawakened that passion for history, and so that's really what I taught all through middle school and high school as a teacher, as both places, is some type of history.
So how did teaching social studies at Woodford County shape the way you approach preserving Black history and local narratives today?
I was blessed to be able to design a class at Woodford County High School. It was called Piecing a Story Together, or PAST. But I was supposed to teach in the Woodford County Academy at that time. This was like 2013 to 2016, basically, those school years. I was supposed to teach ninth graders how to do research. And so I'm like, how to write an annotated bib. I mean, you can imagine ninth grade social studies students just rolling their eyes and going, Lord of mercy, no. So I didn't want to just have a bunch of research papers. So we took on local history. So the first year we did some work with Jack Jewett House, and then we started to do other work with different markers around Woodford County. And one of those was the Midway Colored School. And the students really got into researching that. And so that kind of opened my eyes to the deep history of Woodford County. I'm not a native. I'm from Ohio originally, and then spent a lot of time in Tennessee before I moved here. So this opened up a whole new story of history and the African American experience here. So then the next year, actually, Mary Ann Gill, I had her daughter Annie in my class, and she said, "Do you know anything at a teacher conference about Huntertown?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "You ought to look into that for next year's class. See if you guys can understand the Huntertown project." And she started to tell me about it. And then the more I dug into this, I was like, this is amazing. This place is just locked up. It's overgrown with invasives, but people lived here, and there's a story to tell. So that's how I started it with my ninth graders in 2015 and 16.
So speaking of Huntertown, you've been instrumental in the development of the Huntertown Community Interpretive Park, which preserves the history of a historic African American community in Woodford County. Why was this project so important to you?
The fact that this community was around for 130 plus years was started by, actually, the first piece of property was purchased by a man who was enslaved just a mile down the road from where I live in Mortonsville. To know the story that he bought property, someone who was once considered property, bought the first piece of property in 1871, and then it began to grow into a large African American community. It's one of the largest hamlets in Woodford County, out in the county and the countryside. So this story was just incredible. And then I learned and met Donald Morton and Eveline Morton. Eveline is a former resident. Donald's a descendant. And Donald said this one time, talking to our students at the old Woodford County High School in the library. He said, "The roots at Huntertown are deep. You can't just pull them up and throw them away." And that grabbed my heart, and we were that was it. So it's these people. This was their home. There's nothing left of it, or very few little pieces. And so this home place is so important to preserve the stories, because there were incredible people that came out of Huntertown, are still here from Huntertown, and have done amazing things all over the country, really.
So, what do you hope people feel or take away when they visit Huntertown and learn about the community that once thrived there?
That the people that lived there from 1871 on lived a life of caring and loving for each other, built a strong community, and yet they had to come together to be together in the Civil War era, at post-Civil War era, because things in Woodford County were not safe for African American people at that time. It's hard history that we have a difficult time recognizing, but that this was an incredible, vibrant community full of people who did incredible things: teachers, preachers, entrepreneurs, people whose legacy continues today.
So you worked on several projects that bring Black history into everyday spaces, including partnering with Tim Middleton to create street banners in Versailles honoring African American heritage. Why is it important that this history is visible and celebrated publicly in our community?
It's important that the stories of Black people who grew up in Woodford County and have impacted this world, really, be told and remembered. And people didn't know anything. And I know that about a lot of these stories until we put the banners up. And there's more people whose banners, we should be able to hopefully do again someday, because everybody that we've chosen were people that had passed on. So I know there's lots of active, wonderful people today, but everybody that's up on a banner is somebody that's no longer with us. But these stories had to be told, and I know hearing from Tim, and I'm not a person of color, but other friends and people who are people of color and have been long-serving residents of Woodford County said, "We don't see any Black faces. We don't see our people up here on these banners." And so that was something Tim and I definitely wanted to work on. Tim being a historian and me we were old social studies teachers, we wanted to change that. And so it was a great project, and we learned so much. I mean, we uncovered all sorts of stuff we didn't know.
So the reason why I asked you to be here is to speak more about the 2026 Honoring Our Black Heritage series, which the Woodford County Library is proud to present alongside community partners. This year's series features presentations, workshops, and conversations that highlight Black voices and preserve historical narratives. Why do programs like this series matter, especially at the local level?
I think people need to understand the connections that we have to the past, and how our African American heritage and legacy in Woodford County is something that we need to celebrate and honor and protect. So I think by bringing in speakers from, that will help tell parts of the Woodford County story, I think is just wonderful for people to understand that our story goes beyond this county and our impact goes beyond this county. And you'll learn an incredible amount when you come. I mean, the library's been our partner since we started this in 2020, February 2020, before the world shut down. Dr. George C. Wright from University of Kentucky, a noted African American historian, came and gave an incredible speech presentation. And the library's been hosting these ever since, and I'm so thankful to the library for doing that, because it's a way we come together. We say history in Huntertown, history is our story. We all need to understand it and celebrate it and protect it.
So what can attendees expect when they come to the event, from the atmosphere to the types of conversations being had?
Well, first of all, it's very welcoming, and we have lots of people that come and we sit and we talk and we have presentations and people ask questions. So it's very low key, and it's a good feeling. It's always a good feeling, I think. It's a good spirit in the place. And we've got some incredible programs coming on this year. Do you want me to talk about those at this point? Okay. So starting on February 1st, on Sunday, February 1st, we will be working with the Woodford County Remembrance Coalition. And this is the second in the series, called Rooted Remembrance, the story of Richard W. James, who was lynched in Woodford County, in Versailles, on March 13th, 1921. So we are starting with him, one of the lynching victims, who's actually memorialized at the Equal Justice Initiative Lynching Memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. So we'll be telling his story. Micah Lynn and Milan Bush, who are the ones behind this whole project, will be telling the story of Richard W. James. And so I just invite, it's hard history, but it's history we need to understand, and we need to remember, because beginning to remember is the beginning of healing.
And can you speak a little bit about one of the big guests that will be coming?
The big guest that's coming
Yes.
will be on Thursday, February 26th, Frank X. Walker, the former poet laureate of Kentucky, as well as one of the co-founders of Appalachian Poets, will be here. And I'm excited because he is going to be signing books and selling books and all that, but he's going to be reading from his newest book, Load in 9 Times, which is poetry about the U.S. colored troop experience. He found out several years back that he had an ancestor in the USCT, and so he will be telling that story. And I've seen this program that he's done before at Camp Nelson, and it's incredible. He is just a gift to the world, and his poetry is fantastic. So I'm really excited for people to come, and he's excited too.
So besides Frank X. Walker, is there a particular event in the series that you're excited about?
Well, one of the ones I'm excited about happens on February 7th when Sherry Daniels from the library,
Yes.
who, as I've come to know her and see her resume, she has done this program on African American genealogy all over the country. And so this is free, folks. And you can learn, it's a workshop, it's a 2-hour workshop, just how to get started, how to get beyond, the 1870 census is the first time that African Americans are named in the census if they were formerly enslaved. So there's a lot of paper trails that are hard to figure out, but Sherry knows her stuff, and it's going to be great. 2 hours at the library. Then Renette Jones is coming in March 19th, I believe, at 6 o'clock, and she is one of the co-founders of the Notable Kentucky African Americans database at UK, which has entries, incredible amount of entries that tell the story of African Americans in Kentucky. There are, I looked yesterday, 392 different references to Woodford County in that, and including people that you might know from Woodford County that are referenced there, but tells the story of our county and the Black African American presence throughout. So that she will be great, and she has lots of fun, interesting, bizarre stories too that she's uncovered as she's done this work.
Is there a historic figure from Black history, local or national, that you wish you could invite to one of the series events as a special guest?
Oh, yes. I say this every time I turn on Finding Your Roots. I would love for Henry Louis Gates, for Skip Gates, to come here and see the genealogy that we've already uncovered, and to look at, I've always said, oh, if you could just come and look at all the stuff about Huntertown that we already know and the genealogy that we still need to find. The connections in the African American community through history are so strong here. It is deep roots, and so we say that about Huntertown, but we have to say that about all of Woodford County. You can't just pluck it up and throw it away. So Skip Gates, come please. My family gets tired of me saying it every time. Mom, just email him. So anyway, I would love for him to come. That would be awesome. Of course, Oprah and President Obama. Yeah, sure, any of those folks too.
Has there been one story that you have discovered that has always just stuck out to you that you can't forget?
Yes, there's several, but one that I love to tell is the story of Reverend Jesse Boyd Bottoms Sr., who was born at Huntertown, grew up there, spent his whole childhood there, and he married the girl next door, literally. They said, but Florence Carter, and that they were married for almost, I think, 60-some years. I can't remember now. But he became the pastor at Green Street Baptist Church in Louisville. And he was pastor there for years, pastor emeritus. But if you look at our Facebook page on Martin Luther King Day, he is seated with Dr. King and Reverend Hodge in Louisville in Dr. King's last visit to Louisville before his assassination, leading a march that was trying to desegregate housing in Louisville in 1967. So that story just, to me is just incredible. But in the obituary when he passed away, the family said he always says that he married the girl next door. They started out throwing rocks as neighbors and then started throwing kisses. So there you go. I just think that is precious and so personal. And so we have their wedding picture. I've met some of his his descendants in Louisville. It's a wonderful story. And there's many more like that. It's amazing.
What's something about Black history in Woodford County that surprises people the most when they first learn it?
I think what people always have a hard time understanding is how many Black schools there were in Woodford County. I mean, I believe if you go back and look at some of the pictures in Kentucky Historical Society in the 1892 World's Fair, that they're pictures of all Black and white schools, private and public. But there were so many Black schools, of course, in the time of segregation. Some of them actually were scattered throughout the county. Some were in the cities. But people just cannot believe the number of Black schools and how large that population was. And I say, well, in 1840, 1850, and 1860, Woodford County had the highest percentage of enslaved people in the entire state of Kentucky. So, over 52.9% or something, I believe. And so that was a huge population. And the fact that the things we hang our hats on, bourbon and horses and agriculture, was all built on the backs of enslaved people here in Woodford County. So these are deep roots, and it's our story, and we need to protect it and honor it.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on that we didn't talk about?
Oh gosh, I don't think so. I will say we've got a couple other programs that we're excited. Yvonne Giles is coming in April to talk about Billy Walker, who won the Kentucky Derby in 1877, a Black jockey from Woodford County. And then we've got a couple other presentations coming, including Steve Fan. Ranger Steve is coming back to Woodford County in August to come out to Huntertown to do an actual National Park History at Sunset program here on site. So we're excited about all those.
And where can people keep in touch with you and find all that information?
It'll be on our website as well as on our Facebook page and social media. So just huntertownkypark.org, and you can email me, and if you have any questions, huntertownkypark@gmail.com. That's me.
Sue, thank you so much for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your passion with us today. Your work reminds us that preserving Black history is not just about the past, it's about understanding who we are and where we're going as a community. To listeners, the 2026 Honoring Our Black Heritage series is free and open to the public. You can learn more and RSVP at woodfordcountylibrary.org or follow the Woodford County Library on Instagram and Facebook for updates. Thank you for listening to Woodford County Hometown Highlights, part of the What's Up Woodford network. Until next time, keep discovering the stories that make Woodford County home.